Hello and a very good morning, everyone out there. I hope you all are fit and healthy. You all are taking all precautions from the virus. The virus has not gone yet, but the vaccines are here. So it's a good news, right? Now, things are going to get normal. The colleges are going to start very soon. But the online thing is something that we have learned in this pandemic, right? Online classes, online work from home, online lectures, and so much of technology we have learned because of this lockdown. So we should appreciate even the drawbacks, the lockdown also, the pandemic also, that we've got to learn so much from it. Moving forward, we will come to the topic. I am going to do a topic of special English for the second year BA students. And previously, if you all have seen my video, I have done a video on the nightingale or phenomena. Okay, the author, I mean, the poet of that poetry was Sir Philip Sidney. So we have already completed that poetry. For the ones who have not seen it, please go back to the previous videos and watch that, and you will get a gist of the whole poetry. Even the question answers are discussed in it. The glossary is discussed, the meanings, and how to frame the question and answers, right? So you all can even watch the previous videos on it. Today we'll be going to the second poetry, and that is Sonnet 3 by Williams Shakespeare. So, William Shakespeare, everyone knows that name, right? He's a great poet. And so, we should first know who's the poet and we should learn about the poet before going to the poetry, right? So, I'll share my screen here. So, Shakespeare's sonnets. Now, if you all know, Shakespeare has written a couple of sonnets that is based upon his personal life. Now, so what are sonnets? They are actually 14-line poems that are written in a certain pattern or a certain rhyme scheme that you can say. And they actually follow that rhyme scheme, and they are written on real experiences of life, so they're not imaginary stories or poetries. For example, it's not a poetry that the poet is just imagining sitting in the nature or something, but it is a real life story or an incident that has happened with the poet maybe, or with the author who's saying it, or maybe he's saying about somebody else, but a real life incident. All right, so sonnet 3 is Shakespeare's sonnet wherein he is going to explain about his life. I mean, he's going to share a little part of his life. So first, let's see Shakespeare's sonnets study guide. Now, that mean what? That means what is sonnet, why he's written it, and all. So Shakespeare's sonnet actually comprises of 154 poems in the sonnet. So how many poems are there in all? 154 poems that were published in 1609, but likely written over the course of several years. So there were 154 poems in all, but they're not published all together. All right, they were one by one, just as his life story was going ahead. So his starting, his middle age, his old age, and all his incidents that happened because of his success or maybe failure sometimes. So all of these things that he has shared through the sonnets were published one by one in several years. Evidence for their existence long preceding publication comes from a reference in Francis Mears in 1598. So this was the publication that published Shakespeare's sonnets. Now, it is unclear whether in 1609 publication at the hands of a certain Thomas Thorpe was from an authorized manuscript of Shakespeare. So he was an authorized manuscript that he published Shakespeare's sonnets. Now, it is possible that the sonnets were published without an author's consent, perhaps even without his knowledge. Now, it is not known to us whether Shakespeare himself has shared these sonnets with the publication and then they were published, or he did not even know that these things are being published, because it was his personal writings about his personal life. So these sonnets that we are learning is has a real touch to it. So do not think it as just an imagination. It's the real life things or stories, whatever. If he's sad, whenever, right? When we are sad, what we do? Some people like to go and listen to a few sad songs, right? Then some other people like to watch movies and just distract themselves. What else? Some people, when they're sad, they just want to go out and work out so that they just forget everything and they're tired and they go to sleep, right? Then some other category of people just like to sleep, just like to be um on the phone, or just lie here and there, listen to some songs and all, right? So there are categories of people, different categories of people who like to do different things when they are sad. Similarly, a writer and an author, what will be his basic thing? When what will he do? He will write, of course. So whenever Shakespeare was sad and he was in his very low time, or maybe very excited, so he just took a paper and pen, he wrote down some lines that came to his mind, that connected him with his feelings and emotions at that time. So he just wrote it down. So it was very personal for him. Sometimes he's written about his beloved, how was his relationship with her, and then sometimes he's written how lucky he is. Sometimes he has also revealed how unlucky he is, how he has failed so badly in his life. So all these personal things are written in his sonnet. So it's not actually known that whether he himself published all these things and he has given his personal life to the people, or whether few sonnets that were just published without his consent. So we have no knowledge about that. But we only know the thing is that it is his own personal life that we will be discussing, and we will be seeing about this great author, how did he go through his life. So this is one of the mysteries of Shakespeare's sonnet. What is the mystery here? That we never will know that he wanted us to know about his sonnets, or we just know about him, right? So another thing is, which continues to spur debate among literary scholars today, is the identity of the publication's dedicate. So nobody even knows who has who's published his sonnets. So nobody knows the identity of the person who has done that crime, if it's done without his consent. So that's why this is another mystery that we'll never know who has done it. Now, we say it right in that movie, if you all have seen. Uh, it's on a lighter note. If you all know, if we've watched that movie, Welcome. I hope everyone must have watched it. It's a comedy movie. And in the end, he just says a statement, so it just came to my mind. He says that, ये राज भी उसी के साथ चला गया. Right? So, ये दो राज भी शेक्सपियर जी के साथ चले गए. पहला राज के he has given his sonnets with his consent. ये राज भी उन्हीं के साथ चला गया. और दूसरा राज किसने किया, ये राज भी उन्हीं के साथ चला गया. So this is a light note, but so these are the two mysteries that we will never know about the sonnets and Shakespeare. But what else we can know about his sonnets is those who favor one man or the other draw on circumstantial evidence concerning his life and character, such an amicable term on which Shakespeare is known to have been with this person or events in. Okay, this is about what all he did and all. Let's go forward. Now, let's see the summary. Now, the summary is always done at the end, I know, but we will be seeing in this what is happening in the story just before, to get a gist about what is the poetry about. Now, even before this, I would like to read a sonnet 3 poetry for you all. That is on page number 51. The book I'm referring to is, I have already shown you all this book. And if you all have this book, Open page number 51. Okay, so let's see. I'll just read it. Look in thy glass and tell the face wisest. Now is the time that face should form another, whose fresh repair, if now thou not renews, how does beguile the world, unbless some mother? For where is she so fair whose unerred womb disdains the village of thy husbandry? Or who is he so fond will be the tomb of his self-love to stop posterity? Thou art your mother's glass, and she in thee calls back the lovely April of her prime. So thou through windows of thine age shalt see, despite of wrinkles, this golden time. Die single, and thine image dies with thee. Such beautiful poetry. I know the words are difficult here, but if we try to understand the meaning of this poetry, it will really touch your heart. All right, now let's see few. About the poetry. We'll read some little about the poetry here. All right. Now, first, we will go to the character list, and then we will read what is the poetry. So in the character list, the first character that you can see is the fair lord that he's discussed about. Now, what do you mean by fair lord in this poetry? Now, in this poetry, it tells us a story of the narrator's unrelenting affection of a young and beautiful man. That is a fair lord. A young and beautiful man means he was good by he had a good looking face, of course, but he was also fair, to whom these sonnets are addressed. So any people who are young, beautiful, and they are fair. So the absence of explicit identifying characteristics has given way to much controversy over the fair lord's real world and law. Assuming that the sonnets are indeed autobiographical, do assumption not even given, but the characters described therein do in fact have mutant counterparts. Two prime have been put forth for the role of sonnet's fair lord. So here in this poetry, there's a person fair lord. Now, because we do not know if this is a person really existing in Shakespeare's life, so he's just talking in common about a young man around that time the sonnets were likely composed. Any young man at that time who was fair and beautiful, and does not only mean beautiful by looks but by his personality, by his character. Okay, now the dark lady. The final persona in Shakespeare's sonnets is of the dark lady. Featured in sonnets, the dark lady's adjective appearance to carry both a literal dark feature and a figurative, as in dark personality. Now, the latter being exemplified in her less than sexual aspects, the sonnets tell about her if eyes corrupt by over partial looks, the bay where all men ride. It has been suggested that the Dark Lady is a married woman who engages in adulterous relationships, both with the narrator and with other men, among whom the fair lord may be included. It has been suggested that the Dark Lady is a prostitute of African descent. Now, here, these two main characters, the fair lord and the dark lady. So the fair lord does not mean fair in his looks, means fair in his behavior, also good in looks, in personality and character. But the dark lady, as her name suggests, is dark also in personality, not only by looks. Now, this does not mean that people who are dark in their personality. As if you have noticed, the darker people are much more open by heart, and if you see the fair people, maybe I am wrong in this, but according to my experience, I can say the people who are much better looking or more fair in complexion are the ones who are not that open by heart. But if you find people with a dark complexion, they will be much more enthusiastic in their work, in their character. And so, do not go by the poetry, because it's a personal experience about the poet, not a general thing. Generally, we cannot consider anyone according to their color or race or anything, right? So, let alone be any color or race the person is. If you want to see how the person is, you have to judge. Do not judge, but you have to see them by their character, by their personality, the way of talking, the way of being together, building that connection, right? But in this story, the dark lady, as the name suggested, has a dark personality herself. So with her eyes itself, it shows. Now, right, sometimes it happens that even with the eye of a person, you can recognize how the person is, or maybe just by the face or by the looks. Sometimes some people that we see, by the face itself, we can say that this person can be very cunning and dangerous, right? Sometimes he's so cruel. By the face you can know them, right? Because God, the people who do bad stuff, God changes their face according to that. So people having those with, according to the face itself, according to the way they're acting, you can actually recognize how they are. Does not matter if they look good or they look bad, does not matter. That some features on their face show that maybe this person is not that good, or maybe not trustworthy in something that I am going to tell him, so we do not tell that thing to him or her, right? So according to the looks also, not looks in sense good and bad, but looks in the sense that on the face you can recognize, maybe looking in their eyes, you can recognize if they're trustworthy, if they're truthful, or they are more in the bad category. I mean, so this dark lady, looking in her eyes, the author is saying in this sonnet that you can recognize that she's not that type of good woman. So let's move ahead. Now, I will just this is glossary and also. All right, I have read the poem for you. I will read out about the poem. What is all about the poem? We did the characteristics of the poem, right? So this is the third in Shakespeare's sonnet series and falls within what is called the fair youth sequence. So in this story, we are going to learn the fair youth. What do you mean by fair youth? Now, this a man that he's talking about, the fair lord. The fair lord does not mean that there was one man who was fair in Shakespeare's life and he's talking about that. He's talking about the youth in general and the fair people of the youth. That means the young, good looking people who are fair in nature, that they do not they are not unjust, or they do not categorize people by some looks, or maybe sometimes looks, maybe something else. You can say money, or you can say status, anything of that sort. So some fair people of the youth who are good is denoted by Shakespeare in this poetry. This is a sequence that could be dedicated to Shakespeare as a youth or other candidates to which he offends this sonnets as advice. So he's actually writing this sonnet in advice to the youth. That is y'all who are listening to me right now. So you are the youth. Me, it's a me and you. We both are the youth of this country, of the world, right? So this poetry is in accordance, I mean, for us. He's suggesting something to the youth. What is he telling to the youth, and especially to the fair people of the youth? Fair in character, fair in nature. This particular sonnet is called the Procreation Sonnet, as Shakespeare seems to be exhorting the youth addressed to have children and therefore continue not just his, but also the mother's line. Shakespeare seems to be saying that just as we are the continuation of our mother's line and also her memory, we should also look towards continuing our line and memory. In some sense, he seems to be talking about being immortal, about our image being carried forward in our children's faces. This is a typical Shakespearean sonnet where the 14 lines are divided into three quatrains, that is, three stanzas of four lines each, with a volta or turn in the couplet at the end. So the climax is a twisting turn. This was a kind of sonnet that differed from the others, both in terms of form as well as rhyme scheme and meter. So this was something unique. Shakespeare uses the iambic pentameter here, as he does in most of his work. So we will also see what is iambic pentameter, sorry. So what is the theme of the story, or what is, what is the poem about? So he's actually advising the youth, the fair youth, that do not be carried away by some bad thing. And like, for example, what is happening right now is, if I go to talk about even the women of today, yes, of course, I am not against women working, right? I myself am working and I'm ambitious about my work. And I hope all women are ambitious about their work and they want to achieve something in life. But that does not mean that you can leave your family behind, or you should not focus on your family and you should only focus on your work. And now it does not only go to women, it also goes to boys, right? Sometimes right now in this age and this time, people have become so ambitious and so much into work that they have left their families, they have left their loved ones, um, everything behind them. So typically we do not have a proper family life as people before had, right? And we are so much into our work that we do not have time for all this. So we should be a balance. A person is actually recognized by the way he can balance his work and his family together. And mostly the woman is also been, I mean, she should be a person who can handle the house as well as the work. So in this, as you all are the youth now, later on when you all will grow, you all will start working. One suggestion that Shakespeare has given, and from my personal experience also, that you should not be a person who is only into work and no family life. Or either you should not be the person, neither you should not be a person who is only staying at home and has nothing to do, no aims, no dreams to go ahead. So you have to balance both the things. You cannot work, and no family, because you are working for whom? You are working to have a nice lifestyle, to provide whatever necessities your family needs, right? So if you are working for them, you have to remove time for them. So if you are going to work so much that you do not have time for them, I think that is not worth it. All right. So you have to balance your work with the family. And if you are a person who is only at home, only handling this and has no ambitions and goals in life, I think that is also a downfall, because you have no motive of living. Even though you are at home and maybe your plans, or maybe because of this situation, there's no way to move out, there's no way that you can climb up the ladder and go to your destination or what you have dreamt about, right? But still, whatever you can do, little, even though you are working little every day, even though an hour or two or something that you're doing, but you should do something of your own where you are earning, even though you're earning a little, doesn't matter. So, but you need to balance these two things together. So here, even in Shakespeare, his poem, he is suggesting the young people that do not fall prey of the bad people, wherein now he is suggesting in a different way. I told you all about work and family life. He is saying also that sometimes this youth, when you are in your young college days or early college days, as you all are in, there is a tendency of everyone, right? Everyone, we have passed through those years, and everyone passes through those years, and we understand at this time. There are so many friends and so many things happening around where you fall into the bad company, and maybe you are not that comfortable to share it with your parents what is happening, but you should yourself know what is right and what is wrong. You should not be like a little child that your parents or someone has to continue tell you, do not do this, do not do that, don't go with that person, that is not the right one. Right? You should automatically on your own understand, maybe this friend of mine is not doing the right thing, I should be away from him. And this circle is very good, they're happening, they're enjoying. Yeah, enjoyment is not a bad thing. You should go enjoy these years how much you can. These years are not going to come back, so of course you need to enjoy. But bad company, as in they're going to take you in all the bad stuff. I do not want to name it now, but you all already know what all bad stuff are there to do. So if the company that you are in, if your friends or maybe who is around you are taking you into the bad places or maybe bad habits, so automatically you should know, this is not the right person for me, this is not the right company for me, I should move out, make new friends or make my old friends, and I should be around them and enjoy my life, because this is not going to come back. I should not waste my time into all these things. Right? So this is your time to categorize between what is right and what is wrong. The youth days are the most important days, all of course for enjoyment also, and of course to build your habits. In this age, if you're building good habits and you're staying away from the bad, I think you have done your best. You don't need to do anything else in your life. I mean, for this age, this duration of your college years, if you have achieved this, that you can stay away from the bad and stay in a good company and enjoy your days, I think that's the greatest achievement for college days. So I hope you all understood what is the motive of the poem. The poet is actually suggesting you all to be away from the bad people who try to take you all into deep into bad stuff, right? Just like this lady, the dark lady in this poetry, must have also taken the fair lord into her trap and made him go into the wrong way. Similarly, there are people around who want you to come to them and go into the wrong place, start a wrong habit, right? But you are the ones who should know when and what is happening and stay away from that. And you just forget about them and cut their contact from your phones, from your memory, from your heart, and just they do not exist for you if these type of people are around you, right? So this is my suggestion, this is the suggestion of the author about this poetry. In the next video we will be seeing in detail about the poetry, what is the story that he's trying to say. Till now you all know what is the concept of the poetry, right? And let's focus on our life, on our personal lives, by taking this message from the poetry, not to be in the wrong company and enjoy yourself in the good company. So I hope you all understood what I'm trying to say. And enjoy your life, enjoy your days. This is not going to come back, but in a good way. I hope you all understood the point, and keep watching my videos. Go to the previous videos, watch all we've done before, and keep watching the videos for you to learn. If you want to learn about the poetry more in detail, I'll be doing another video on it. By the time, thank you. Take care of yourself and stay safe.